Hey everybody, Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness, coming to you here from Charlotte, North Carolina, where I am unpleasantly sunburnt from leading an outdoor event for my close friends at AMRAP for Autism this week. And I'm coming to you now with another analysis breakdown of pack profile usage in the Autism Fitness method. And here is another Tuesday training. This time we're looking at a strength exercise with my guy, Andrew, here. So I am going to share this video here. And of course, before we get started, if you are ready to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, you can head over to autismfitness.com, register to become a level 1 pro, start your coursework today, and then join me for one of our live virtual practicals throughout the year. So let's take a look at this clip. Again, today we're looking at strength exercise. In this case, an overhead press. We're going to break it down pack profile style. I got my athlete here. Number one, before we even get into the physical, which we will, we look at the adaptive. So I asked this young man to grab the Sandbells. He goes over to the box, grabs the 2 red Sandbells. Of course, we know that this is not always necessarily the case with our athletes in the adaptive or motivational realm. So we're off to a really good start here. Now, physically, we can start already. We always start with the feet, all right? So we look at rooting, big deal. And when we don't have this, then we start to see a breakdown in the movement as well. So our athlete has that visual spatial cue with that ring. This can be the difference between really effective and beneficial performance of an exercise and teeter-tottering to the left and right and not having the trunk stability that's really necessary to perform the exercise to best of ability level. All right. So right here, let's break it down immediately. Even in this one frame, physically, the athlete is in a really good position. He's already extending his arms all the way overhead. At the same time, even though we talk about this exercise being independent, which it is, I'm still providing a cue here. I'm doing a mirror with a fade. What I mean by that is my arms are not going all the way overhead. So I'm not doing an exact mirror image in my prompt here, but I do have my elbows up to give the athlete a little bit of a visual prompt here. So you can see from toes to fingertips, this is all in line, looking really good so far. Now, with this press, you can see he's coming forward. And in the Autism Fitness Certification Level 1, we talk about the importance of positioning and that an exercise itself is not going to do much unless it's coached and cued correctly. And what I mean by correctly is it needs to be specific to that athlete's particular ability levels. And there is a correct way to perform an exercise and many different incorrect ways. And this comes down again to physical, adaptive, and cognitive skills. Physically, what we're seeing here is that the Sandbells are coming way forward, and we want more of a, not an exact, but more of an up and down motion too. So here, this is one of the things that we work on the most with presses, recentering that grip. Now we're using Sandbells because they have a wonderful grip component to them. And we know that a lot of our athletes on the autism spectrum and with related neurodiversities typically have grip and fine motor issues. So that's something that we can address, not necessarily 100% fix, but something that we can address and enhance through using something like a Sandbell and having that proper grip. So we want full range of motion. That one was awesome. You see the feet are down on the floor. And so we're seeing a little bit. So look at the arm position here too. This again is something a little bit higher order, but something that we do want to address. When we talk about shaping an exercise or shaping a behavior, what we're looking at is where is it right now and where do we want it to go? So breaking it down physically, the athlete is mostly independent. And at the same time, there are a few things that we want to address here because we don't want this arm all the way back behind the head, right? So you see the difference between the right arm and the left arm. So this is going to be something that we're going to continue to not just monitor, but immediately we want to make some type of coaching intervention on that. Right? So he's pushing that arm all the way back. So I'm giving a little bit of a verbal cue and I'm still keeping my hands there. And now a little bit more of a mirror cue there. Right? And now we're going over. So here's when we get into the adaptive and cognitive. Now the athlete is asking about how many sets and repetitions he's already done, because that's how he keeps himself on track, as many, if not all of us do in our own training as well. So for him, we've seen the physical already. So you see where he's at with that overhead press. And where he's at with that overhead press is pretty progressed. He's almost independent with that right now. He still needs that that visual cue, that mirror prompt. And you can see it's not always 100% faded, because sometimes we have to intervene with more of a visual prompt. If we see, for example, with this athlete, that arm, going back a little bit more, if we see the athlete losing their grip. So it's okay that we coach in a way that's conducive to what is going on right now. From the adaptive perspective, athlete is on task. He's motivated. We have athletes on occasion who will wander around or who will not be sufficiently motivated. In that case, we're going to have to amp up the reinforcing quality of whatever that other reinforcer is, and really maintain a structure to our contingencies. So it would be first do 8 presses, and then you can have a break or some type of contingency like that. In this athlete's case, he just wants to know how many sets and repetitions he's completed of the exercise. And so I don't have it in that frame, but we'll go over to the dry erase board and we'll cover, all right, you've done 3 sets of presses and you've done 10 repetitions of each now, and now it's time to move on to the next exercise. So for him, that's a big deal in knowing, the structure of the session and where he's at right now as well. And we would bring that back to being under the umbrella of adaptive functioning. That's motivating for him to be able to complete each one of those sets and all of those repetitions. And then finally, from the cognitive perspective, we have an athlete who clearly understands what's going on right now. He's asking questions about it. He's able to differentiate between the exercise and not performing the exercise as well. So we do a little wait time, and now he's back to pressing, and that looks awesome. And this is one of the biggest reasons to do multiple sets. I have said this before in other videos as well. The first set is typically going to be the least productive, especially when we are first working with an athlete. Sets 2, 3, even 4 and 5 are going to be the sets that not only are really going to show us what that athlete is capable of. In addition to that, those are the sets that are going to have the true training effect and build that strength, stability, motor planning, whatever the main focus or main purpose of that exercise happens to be. So now we're taking a little break in between, and then we would move it on. He's going to put some cones back. And the reason I have him do this is some of our athletes, and you'll get you'll get two different things going on with an athlete. I'm going to move this. Either the athlete needs a lot of break time in between exercises, or they need or they perceive that they need very little break time in between exercises. Sometimes we want an athlete to rest and recover just a few more seconds. So I had him put away the cones, completely functional activity, and then come back to this overhead press for the last set. Now we're seeing some real steady, really good movement. So if we were to compare this to the first set, we're still looking at that right arm. That was a really good press, but he has a lot more stability and control here as well. So to conclude this, if we're breaking it down physical, adaptive, and cognitive, which is what we're always doing, physically, the athlete is very close to being independent with that overhead press. And once he can do 3 sets of 10 repetitions there, what I'm going to do is increase the weight. We'll go to 4-pound Sandbells. From an adaptive perspective, he is sufficiently motivated. He is staying on task with each set. It looks great. Of course, going to continue to provide behavior-specific praise, and also keep all of his exercises on the board so he can reference them. And then from a cognitive perspective, we're talking about kinesthetic awareness and understanding the performance of the exercise. The big thing that he's doing really well there is he's controlling the eccentric, or the lowering of that Sandbell, which tends to be a real challenge for a lot of our athletes. He's doing a wonderful job of that. So clearly he understands and he has internalized what the exercise is supposed to be like, what it's supposed to feel like for him. So looking at physical, adaptive, and cognitive, we're doing really, really well here right now. So that has been another Tuesday training exercise breakdown. I'm Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness. If you want to create the most extraordinarily effective fitness and adaptive PE programs for your athletes of any age, of any ability level, then you need to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro. You can check the link in the description of this video below. You can go to autismfitness.com. You can register today and start your coursework immediately, and then meet me for one of our live virtual practicals held throughout the year.